Welcome back to another episode of Import Modified, guys. Back from my vacation. Now let's get started back on the Z31 project. See how far we can go in this episode, so stay tuned. Alright guys, last time where we left off, the height of the fuel rail was just a little too high, so I'm going to go ahead and trim the hoses down again and refit everything back up, put it back on the engine, and we'll see if we get it right this time. And then we'll continue on with the upper intake manifold, getting everything put back together, and then we'll move on from there. So one thing I noticed when I tighten down the upper intake manifold is that the throttle body mount right there actually overlaps over the valve cover. Now I did not tighten down the rocker arm assembly yet on the head, so I had to unbolt that so that I can get the clearance I need to bolt down the rocker arm assembly once I put the timing components on. So I had to unbolt it, and now I'm going to work on the timing assembly, but I ended up pushing in the seal for the cam a little too far. I ended up buying another cam seal. I'm going to replace that, make sure I get it nice and flush like the other one is, and we'll put all the timing components back on. And this little plate on the back, which protects the timing belt from slipping over too far against the oil pump, whenever I took it off, I had to fight to get it off, and then I had to hammer it back down flush. And when I did that, I noticed that the hole is not really, you know, it's not really true, so it's not sliding on. I need to just kind of waller the hole out evenly to make it to where I can fit it on the front of the crankshaft, and then I'll be able to put everything back on. Once I have the timing components on, then I'll work on tightening all the upper intake manifold, rocker arm assembly, everything down, and then we'll be able to carry on with the exhaust, turbo mounting, and everything else. Alright y'all, so I went ahead and installed the timing belt. I had limited time to do this, so I went ahead and knocked it out, didn't film much of it, but just to go over what I did real quick. You have 3 timing marks you have to line up. You have a dot right here, lines up with the slot right there. Then you have a dot right here, lines up with the indentation on the back of the timing cover. And same thing right here to right there. So line these all up, and basically you route your belt counterclockwise with the slack on the tensioner side. For the tensioner, you have a spring right there, and you have a stud. Now I put 2 10mm nuts right there and locked them real tight, and I use Loctite on it so they don't, you know, vibrate loose. And that ensures that the spring holds in place, because when I was installing it, it kept slipping off. That right there fixes that problem. And basically, with the slack on this side, you put the tensioner in, you twist with this Allen key right here, right up in there, and you do it until the belt gets tight. Now generally I do my timing belts to where I can twist them back and forth like that, and I call it good. So we got everything lined up, timing belts installed. We can move on now and torque down the rocker arm assemblies, torque up the upper intake manifold, and then from there we can work on exhausts and finally getting the turbo mounted up and everything. So we'll move on that, but I'm out of time this afternoon, only had a little bit of time. I'll see you guys here on another day. So we got the rocker arm assembly and everything torqued down now. And what I like to do after I torque things down, I like to give the rotation of the engine at least, you know, a full rotation. That would be 2 turns on the crank, 1 turn on the camshafts. That'll give it a full cycle through all the strokes. That will make sure that all the rockers move up and down. And then what I like to do is recheck the torque values on the rocker arm shafts just to verify that everything is torqued adequately. So I'm going to go ahead give it 2 good turns on the crank and retorque things, and then we'll move on from there. Timing mark is lined up. Timing mark is lined up. Timing mark is lined up here to there. So we rotated the engine. I retorqued everything down on the rocker arm assembly. Everything is good to go. Timing is double checked. Everything is good now. Let's continue on with putting the engine back together. All right, guys, so I got new valve cover bolt grommets, and basically they're just rubber grommets. There's 18 in total, and it's a good thing when I went to the pull apart to get some parts that I grabbed extra ones, because I am actually missing 8 washers that go on the bottom of the grommets like that. So I sourced them out. I'm going to clean these up, replace the valve cover gaskets, then we'll go ahead and bolt them onto the engine and move on from there. Alright guys, just a quick update of what I got going on. I took the top manifold off because intake manifold because it gave me room towards the back, but I got the passenger side manifold on, I got the cross pipe mounted on, and as I was mounting up the driver's side, it mounted up just fine and everything, and it's kind of hard for me to get my torque wrench in there, so I was just tightening things down. It says 15 foot-pounds, you know, I wasn't going really tight on them, but I got them nice and snug, and as I was tightening up the cross pipe in the back, I heard a little popping noise, and sure as hell one of the studs gave loose. Now luckily for me, it popped towards the outside. I was able to extract it. I replaced the stud with a new one, so hopefully that will fix the problem we had. It was just hopefully a weak stud. And I got the manifold off on the side here. I got the turbo. I was ready to get that turbo clocked and put on, but we're gonna have to wait on that just for a second. Here's the stud that broke right there. And I need a new manifold gasket because it takes the material off. It's kind of a one-time thing, so I need a new manifold gasket. So I'm gonna get all this good to go, get another manifold gasket, and come back and rebolt this on and be very mindful of how I'm torquing it down, and hopefully we won't have that issue and we can get to mounting this turbo up. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right guys, we're back in for another day, and I successfully got the exhaust manifolds bolted on. There she is, nice and pretty, around the back, onto the passenger side. So we're good to go on this. Now we're gonna go ahead and finally get to mounting up the turbo, and basically looking at the position of the turbo right here, it's not in a proper position because it's angled like this on the exhaust manifold on the driver's side. So with it bolted on in this position, the compressor housing right here is going to be facing towards the strut tower. So I need to clock it more to get the outlet right here pointing upward. So we're going to loosen this, rotate it, and then after that we'll verify how it fits onto the exhaust manifold, and then we'll move on from there. guys, I definitely had my work cut out for me to get this thing in there. Now I do have to clock it a little bit more. I went ahead and bolted it down to the manifold, and I'm just going to start clocking it from within the engine bay, because I got to tell you, it was a workout to get it in there. It is a very tight fit, and I had to take the motor mount and bracket off just to get it in there. Without doing that, it was damn near impossible to fit it all in there. So also had to take the heat shield out right there as well in order to make it fit. But I did get it in there, so now I'm going to take the time and clock it to where it's going to fit right. But it looks like I'm running into a problem with the wastegate, because the wastegate, the way it mounts on this bracket right here, it offsets it. And the way it offsets it is towards the frame rail. So I'm going to have to get creative, figure out a way to get the wastegate mounted up, and I'll show you guys what I come up with. But looks pretty good for the most part. Now I just got to get a little creative. Alright guys, so I was able to get that turbo clocked, and I did run into a little bit of a problem, and that is the wastegate actuator bracket. It's not going to work for the way I have it clocked, and I'll show you what I mean here. And this is the wastegate actuator. If you see the position of the bracket, whenever I put it up to the bracket, it's not in the proper position at all. I need one that's going to be straight so that I can get it to where, or angled down a little bit. I'm going to have to order a couple different ones and see what I can make work here, but I need more of a straight shot to the wastegate right there. And I did have to clock the turbo a little bit offset right there in order to get the proper clearances for the adapter and the feed line here. And I did pretty good on the length, because I'm going to run the line on the outside away from the exhaust, and with it running like that, it's going to come right here to where the adapter is going to be to the block, and that is going to work just fine. Now this is an 18-inch hose, or line rather, and I did another mess up is I ordered an adapter right here that's 1.5 thread pitch, and I need one that's 1.25 to 4N. So I'm gonna have to order one of those as well, and then after that I'll be able to bolt everything back in, and the turbo will pretty much be done for that part, other than the downpipe. I'm gonna call up my buddy. He's gonna come over here. He's a badass welder. He's gonna help me get this thing all mocked up with the flex pipe and everything, with the V-band flange to the turbo, and that's gonna give us a nice proper fit, and everything's gonna work out good on that. So we're getting very close to getting this thing done. I just keep running into little issues that set me back, but that's not a big problem. We'll just go ahead and work our way through the problems, but that gives you guys an idea of what to expect whenever you're modifying a Z31 like this with a T3, T4 setup. But other than that, you know, I'm pretty happy with the results. So we're just going to keep hammering away at this thing until it's done, because I really need the space in my shop. And, you know, it's just one of those things. So we're getting really close, and I thank you guys for enjoying the content and coming along for the ride. Also want to thank new subscribers. I noticed I've been getting some new subscribers lately, and I really appreciate that. Every subscriber counts. I'm trying to hit the 1,000 mark on my subscribers, and, you know, it's been a little bit of a long road, but that's okay, because every subscriber counts, and I appreciate every one of y'all who do subscribe to my channel. It means that I'm doing a good job, and you guys are enjoying my content, and I'm sure once the videos get out there a lot more, you know, this channel will grow, and everybody will enjoy the content that I put forth here in my little private garage. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode, guys. I hope you are enjoying the content, and stay tuned. We'll get this all sorted out, and before you know it, we'll be able to get into the part of tuning it and enjoying it and seeing how much of a difference it actually makes. So like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you guys on the next episode.